Hello and welcome to another episode of Reason at Large. I'm Craig Biddle. Today I want to answer a question that I got from a viewer of a recent video who says, in an earlier video you argued that people should be intolerant of Islam. How does this apply to individual Muslims, not all of whom truly embrace the religion? And this is a good question. It applies more broadly than just to Islam, but we'll use Islam as the starting point here. It is certainly true that not all Muslims embrace Islam fully or consistently in accordance with the Scripture, and this is true of most religionists of all religion, that they don't take their religion very seriously, and thank goodness for that. But the question of how to judge people when there's this range or scale of or degrees of taking a religion seriously is important, and it can be very difficult. There are essentially two things that you've got to bear in mind in judging any given individual, and that is the individual's context, what is his whole situation surrounding his embrace of a religion, including why does he embrace it, and related questions, and then to what degree does he embrace it? To what extent does he embrace the ideas of his creed? Now, in the case of Muslims, many Muslims around the world embrace Islam in the same way that the Christian next door embraces Christianity. I mean, they claim to be Muslims, and they, maybe they pray regularly, but they also, go to work and enjoy life, and some of them eat bacon and wear bikinis at the beach and the whole 9 yards. So they have there's no real embrace of the religion. Needless to say, these people also are not running around trying to behead unbelievers and fly jets into buildings or throw acid into the face of unbelievers or apostates. So it's not the case that all Muslims embrace Islam fully, and you can't judge them all as if they do. It's not proper to, at least. So how do you draw the line with a given individual? And I think it's very important to ask, what is the context? We'll start with context. Some Muslims embrace the religion because they just jolly well have accepted faith as a means of knowledge, and they're going to accept that whatever the Islamic scripture claims or whatever the imams tell them is true because they have faith, because they just want to believe it. They just know, that this is true. And these are really, really dangerous people. They are effectively wild animals because they renounced reason. To embrace faith fully as a means of knowledge is to renounce your real means of knowledge, reason. And these are the most dangerous kinds of Muslims, and of course we need to condemn them accordingly. And if they try to kill us in any way, then they need to be killed and their regimes wiped out. And I've written and said a lot about the need to get rid of the Islamic regimes that are trying to kill us. So that's pretty clear. A step down from that level of insanity is the Muslim who basically says, yeah, the scripture is true, and Allah is real, and we should obey him, and Muhammad is the role model, but they don't really act on those ideas. They maybe act to some extent on them, but not anywhere near what the jihadist does. And obviously they're not the same thing. They're slightly less evil, or substantially less evil, depending on the degree. But they're still to be judged as wrong. They're still going by faith as a means of knowledge, which is just wrong. It's immoral to accept ideas for which there is no evidence. It's an abdication of your basic cognitive and moral faculty, your rational faculty. So it's wrong to do that. It's certainly wrong to turn to scripture or other people or alleged representatives of an alleged God for moral guidance. You should determine what's morally right and wrong according to your own judgment by looking at reality and determining what's a proper standard of value, which human life is the only viable one, and acting in accordance with that standard, forming principles in accordance with that standard. So when somebody embraces faith and obedience to authorities as their morality, that's just it's wrong. It's immoral. They need to be judged. And then there are people at the far end of sort of that scale who really they claim to be Muslims and they absolutely have nothing to do with Islam. Really, they say this is my religion. And let's go play some tennis or whatever. Let's go out drinking, or let's have some eggs and bacon. There are a lot of people like this who just claim to be Muslim, just like a lot of people claim to be religious and adhere to Judaism or Christianity, and they don't really uphold the religion at all. And so these people have to be judged accordingly. Is it moral to claim that you uphold a religion that tells people to do crazy things and then just ignore those parts? Is it moral to claim that faith is a means of knowledge and then not act accordingly? No, it's not. It's wrong to do that, but it's less wrong to cheat on those really wicked values than it is to embrace those really wicked values. So the hypocrisy here is kind of a mitigating factor rather than a damning factor. And when people embrace really bad ideas, it's better for them not to act on those ideas. So these people are by far less evil than the people who take their religion seriously and act on the commandments, including the commandments to murder infidels and all that kind of stuff, from the various scriptures, whether it's the Quran or the New Testament or the Old Testament or whatever. Then there's another category of person that I think you can't judge as immoral at all, at least in some contexts you can't. And that is, and this is particularly true with regard to Islam today, some people claim to be Muslims because if you leave Islam, you're considered an apostate and you are supposed to be killed for leaving the religion. And so anyone who is Muslim or was sort of born into Islam and raised to be Islamic, and especially if they have to deal with, live in, or visit truly Islamic states like Iran or Saudi Arabia on any regular basis, if they have family there that they go back to visit or something like that, for these people to say, yeah, I'm a Muslim, I mean, that can just simply be a means of staying alive. Now, you can debate whether or not somebody has any business going back and visiting these places, or whether they should, be trying to get their family out of there instead of going to visit their family there. That's all fine. But setting that debate aside, if somebody is just claiming to be a Muslim so that other real Muslims will not kill them, this is self-preservation. This is not immoral. So there's this whole range of this whole scale of acceptance of religion that has to be taken into account. And the person's context, any given individual's context, has to be folded into the thinking and the judging of that person. Religion as such is evil. It's evil because it holds faith as a means of knowledge, which is just going by feelings, and it holds that you should turn to authorities for your views on what's right and wrong, and that's just an abdication of your moral responsibility to think for yourself and to look at the facts of reality. So all people who embraced religion, who genuinely embrace it to any extent, should be condemned to that extent as immoral. But they're not all equally immoral, and that's a very important distinction. So, all right, well, that's it for today's episode of Reason at Large. If you have a question you'd like me to address in a future episode, please email it to me at cbiddle@theobjectivestandard.com, and I will take a look at it. I don't promise to answer all of them, but I read all of them, and I try to answer the ones that I think are of general interest. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.